Hey Dub Nation, let me open the door to today's conversation with something you can feel in your heart. The West is about to change how it sounds at the guard spot. Not because of a blockbuster headline you expected, not because of some viral clip, but because one team that already bothers us with length at the rim is hunting a different kind of advantage on the perimeter: possession control, whistle control, pace control. Stay with me, and I'll walk you through why the chessboard is moving, how it tilts our schedule, and what the Warriors can do to turn someone else's gamble into our runway. I'm talking about a specific ball handler who turns secondary actions into first options, who lives inside the weak spots you've shouted at on your couch, and who, if the right phone call lands, slides into a backcourt that's been begging for a grown-up conductor. You know the ripple effect when that happens. A team that already punishes mistakes gets a player who reduces them. That's the kind of move that swings a Game 4 on the road. Breathe, take the temperature, and let me show you why. Start with Minnesota's problem statement. They've flirted with the finals twice and kept coming up one decision short, and the decision usually arrives where the floor is smallest. Late fourth, 2-point game, the ball doesn't find a steady hand coming out of a dead ball. They've tried patches, veteran stewardship on a minutes limit, experimental lineups with a combo wing wearing the point guard label, youthful reps that look good on a Tuesday and get hunted on a Thursday. When you build a front line that big and that physical, the next step is a guard who reads the map fast enough to get you into the right set before the defense loads to your star. That's why their staff keeps toggling, why you've seen different names at the one, and why every scout who's watched them the last 2 weeks has written the same thing. They need a creator who is comfortable in two worlds: on ball when the star rests or is limited, off ball when the star cooks and wants a second side partner. If that sounds like a very specific player profile, it is. Now look at the other side of the phone. The Lakers are talented, loud, and, quietly, nervous about one of the few things that still spooks a big market roster: contract timing. When a do-everything guard turns into a near all-star level producer, and his next summer includes an option number everyone knows he'll decline for a bigger bag, front offices start gaming scenarios. That's not drama, it's math. If his number balloons in July, you either pay it and move other money, or you trade him before the deadline while his cost is still friendly and his next team gets bird pathways. That's how the league operates. Stack that on top of their urgent need to survive stretches when LeBron manages the back and Luka manages the calendar. Yeah, in this version of the West, the Lakers have Luka, and you get a very simple pressure point. Can they flip one high-value guard for a cleaner forward, wing fit, and a pick while trusting the rest of the backcourt to carry usage? The short answer is yes, if the offer hits the right notes. The longer answer is where Minnesota walks in. Let me stop dancing around the outlines and talk tape, because you and I are adults about this. The guard in question is Austin Reaves, and the target asking the loudest questions is Minnesota. If you've watched Reaves the last 2 seasons, you know the traits. He's a slalom skier in pick and roll, patient enough to snake, strong enough to keep a defender on his hip, quick enough to throw the pocket one beat before the big expects it. He screens as a guard to force switches. He manipulates the nail with eyes, and he understands how to turn a basic 2-man action into a chain reaction that ends in a clean corner catch and shoot. Numbers are useful here, because we're not guessing about the production. Last season, he put up a full line, around 25-6, with nearly 38% from 3, which is exactly what you want if you're plugging a high-usage hole without stealing oxygen from your main scorer. That's grown-up ball in the half-court. Now give those instincts a partner who bends the rim with downhill power, and you start to see why this talk never dies. Guards who can be a system on their own while also fitting inside someone else's gravity are rare, and Minnesota's playoff gaps have been color-coded around that absence for 2 years. Why does that matter to us? Because we just lived the version of Minnesota that didn't have this solution and still made our lives miserable with verticality and second chances. You remember the film? Our small ball rhythm got squeezed by length. Our second unit spacing had to be perfect, and every loose ball felt like a 50-50 that was actually 30-70. Add a guard who stabilizes their endgame possessions, and those empty trips we created with smart switches get cut in half. Minnesota's bigs don't have to force post entries into traffic. They can let Reaves press the weak seam and spray. Their wings don't have to freelance. They can cut with a clock. That's a different team. It narrows our margin for error, and that's the honest part you came for. Now, the cap sheet and why this is more than a rumor carousel. Reaves sits on a number that's gold for teams trying to improve without detonating the apron. Reasonable salary now, player option the summer after next, and near zero chance he chooses the option instead of testing the market. That makes him a classic deadline prize. Minnesota can credibly argue they're one player away and pay a "we're going for it" tax. Los Angeles can tell themselves they're turning a contract decision into front court help, a pick, or both, and they do it without signaling retreat. When stars monitor their own workloads and the roster has to breathe around them, this is the kind of move that says, we're flexible and we're serious. It's not theoretical. It's a spreadsheet and a film session shaking hands. Let's talk fit in the North if this hits. Reaves plus Anthony Edwards is a calculus exam for a defense. One quickens the game with force, the other slows it with craft. If Edwards is on a minutes plan early as he ramps back from the hammy, Reaves steals the late clock work and keeps the bigs involved with pocket passes and short roll reads. When Ant is rolling, Reaves shifts to second side decisiveness, where he's lethal attacking a tilted floor and smart enough to occupy the lift and crash lanes that punish overhelp. Put Mike Conley on a veteran diet. Let Dante DiVincenzo fly as a super sub defender instead of pretending to be the table setter, and suddenly the minute-to-minute identity of their guard play makes sense. For a team that already outruns mistakes at the rim, the upgrade isn't about highlights. It's about quiet possessions that used to end in a contested pull-up and now end in a paint touch. If you're wearing blue and gold with me, here's the very practical part. What do the Warriors do about it? First, accept the premise that you're not taking away everything. You're trying to turn their clean middle into muddy middle. That means our first coverage toggle versus Reaves Ant pick and roll is 2 on the ball early in the clock to test their willingness to hit the short roll on time. Draymond is still the best pre-rotator in basketball. If he shows bodies at the nail and our low man sits high enough to tag, we can force that pocket pass at 14 on the clock instead of 8. Then live with great contests and gang rebound. Second, on the nights Ant doesn't have the same pop or sits a segment, switch the aim. Guard Reaves with length at the point of attack, Kuminga or GP2 depending on the lineup. Top lock him out of handoffs and keep your weak side help 1 foot in the paint, 1 hand to the shooter. He wins by lulling. Don't let him narrate the possession. Third, offensively, punish his size. Reaves fights, but he's still giving up mass on switches versus our bigger wings. We can run him through the post split with Clay or Moody. Screening, then dive the screener and force him to tag at the rim. That's where the foul equity lives. Over a 7-game series, those touches change legs in the fourth. I know what you're thinking. What about the money going back and the Lakers' motive? Why would they feed a rival in the West? Because this isn't about charity, it's about the Lakers' math. If LeBron's timeline is a week-to-week discussion and Luka's minutes need to be managed like a treasury, finding a trade that shifts wage structure into a skill set they don't currently trust, size scoring on the wing or stretch size up front, makes sense. They also know Reaves' next contract number will demand choices. Move him now, and you claim agency over the choice. Wait, and the market claims it for you. Add that their pick chest is light, and flipping a guard for a cleaner forward fit plus. A second is the kind of adult move contenders make, even if fans hate how it looks on a jersey. Now the Warriors' lens on schedule and scouting. If this deal materializes before the calendar flips, the first thing I circle is our head-to-head spacing against a team that now drives with 2 guards who create different kinds of help. The no-dribble rule on second-side catches has to be law. We cannot let their length recover with time. Our pace can't just be fast. It has to be efficient pace, where the first hit is a paint touch and the next decision is a shot or a cut, not a reset into their half-court teeth. On the nights Steph cooks, Reaves will be the hide defender by default because you don't want Ant wasting oxygen on ball across 36 minutes. That's where we go hunting. Drag him into layered actions until they defend their own math. On the nights we need others to carry usage. Let Podziemski be the second side bully, let Moody live in the corners, and let JK lower his shoulder into smalls until they send size and open a pass. We can turn their guard upgrade into a front court foul problem if we're disciplined. And the discipline piece is granular. Early offense must start with a hard rim run to collapse the shell. Our Horns entries should be purposeful, pin in the weak side low man, sprint into a 45 cut behind ball watching, then flip the angle into a quick dribble handoff to make Reaves navigate two bodies before the clock hits 16. If they ice the side pick and roll to keep Steph out of the middle, we preset the reject with an empty corner slot cut. If they top-lock Clay off Chicago action, Clay slips to the rim and the screener lifts for the pop. Every choice needs a punishment baked in because their length erases lazy possessions. Defensively, our toggles can't be random. Start with show and recover to test their timing, then mix switch to deny late clock so Reaves has to beat length without a screen. GP2 picks up 94 feet in short bursts to shave seconds, Dre quarterbacks the nail, and the low man stays high enough to tag without surrendering the corner. We avoid the second jump on pump fakes, we box out with contact on the catch, and we live with contested twos if it means no rhythm threes. That's the math battle we can win over 7 games, and it starts in January, not May. Emotion matters too, and you know I never skip it. Minnesota adding a ball control engine would be a statement about who they are now. Less improvisation, more intention. The Lakers, considering a surgical reshape in season, would say they're done waiting on maybe and ready to bet fit. And for us, it's a reminder that the dynasty brain still wins if we pair it with the right bodies. We have our own decisions coming. If the West is adding creators around power, then we need to double down on wings who can survive switches without ceding leverage and guards who screen like bigs. It's not 2015 pace anymore. It's 2026 Torquean timing. That's our challenge and our lane. So the homework is simple to say and hard to live. Keep the cutting honest, protect the glass with 5, and refuse the first bailout pass when the paint gets crowded. Lean into Kuminga's north-south bursts to force early help and generate foul pressure, and let Wiggins live in the mid-post against smaller guards when they switch out of panic. Our second unit can't drift. Pods initiates with tempo, Moody keeps his feet set on the kick ahead, and Saric, or TJD, whoever anchors, must be a dribble handoff hub that flips sides twice before a shot. That's how you break a defense that wants you to settle. You make them guard length of court and width of floor. And because the energy swings in our building matter, we need the chase center runs tied to stops, not just shots, stack 3 clean defensive trips, then sprint into a hit-ahead 3 or a drag screen for Steph before their shell is built. That's how you turn momentum into points, not just noise. All right, I've kept you in the room long enough to earn the real headline. So here's the reveal you stayed for. League chatter has lined up around one framework more than any other, and it puts the Lakers and Timberwolves on the same line. The working concept is this. Los Angeles explores moving Austin Reaves to Minnesota, who needs the exact point of attack organization he brings, and the Lakers recenter around size and shooting to balance Luka's on-ball gravity and LeBron's availability arc. It's not a press release moment yet, but it's louder than background noise, and it solves problems on both whiteboards. Minnesota gets the adult at the 1. LA gets optionality and alignment with their stars' usage. That's why this rumor isn't dying. It makes basketball sense, and the contracts line up in ways that keep GMs at their desks after midnight. If it happens on this timeline, expect immediate ripple effects in the scout. Wolves ATOs shift from ISO-heavy to elbow-touch reads. Late clock possessions tilt towards snake and spray instead of tough pull-ups, and their closing 5 trades volatility for control. On the Lakers side, the minutes map rebalances toward rangy forwards who punish ball watching and stretch the floor for Luka's 2-man actions. They'll sacrifice some wiggle at the point for size and rebounding on the wing. That's a different version of both teams, and it changes how we script the first 6 minutes of every quarter. So, two Warriors questions that will set the tone for the next week of prep. First, if Minnesota lands Reaves, which defensive toggle do you trust the most in closing minutes? Switch to deny with Draymond organizing and GP2 hounding, or show and recover with Looney at the level and weak side stunts from Moody? Second, if the Lakers cash out Reaves for size, who do you want taking those stand in the corner and punish us shots when Steph and Dre squeeze Luka's airspace? Drop your reads below. I'll build the next breakdown around the smartest thread and name-check the top 3. Your feel for rhythm and matchups is the edge of this channel, and I mean that. And while you're at it, give me your pet action for the second unit when teams switch 1 through 4. Do you want a Spain wrinkle with Steph as the back screener to force a miscommunication? Or a split cut into a quick rescreen to free a downhill lane for JK? The comments are our film room. Call your coverage, call your counter, and let's sharpen it together. Let me close with the clean professional take and then the fan heartbeat. The analysis. If the Wolves and Lakers strike a deal centered on Reaves, the West gets tighter at the top because a team we already respected for its defense plugs its only late-game ball-handling leak, while a team that lives in the spotlight recalibrates its cap sheet and role clarity without surrendering the season. That's a double swing. For Golden State, the counter isn't panic. It's precision. Sharpen the second unit identity. Lean into Kuminga's physicality against small guards when they switch him. Keep our pick-and-roll variety tight so we dictate who guards Steph and Clay. And hold the glass like it's a Game 7 even in January. The emotion. I know you felt last spring. That series taught us exactly which possessions we can't give away anymore. If this trade happens, it's just more evidence that the West respects margins. Good. Nobody plays margins like us when we're ourselves. That's still our card. So we keep the turnovers low, we stop the corner threes at the source, and we make the extra pass without sacrificing shot quality. We don't need perfection. We need habits that travel. You give Steph 2 extra clean possessions and a couple fewer freebies the other way, and series tilt. That's been true for a decade, and it's still true now. I want your voice on record before we roll the credits. If you were in our scouting room the morning after this trade breaks, what's the first bullet point on the whiteboard for beating Minnesota with Reaves in the fold? Personnel matchups? Coverage rules? Rotations. Write it like you're coaching Game 5. And if you're thinking about the Lakers side, tell me which forward archetype you think they're chasing and how that changes your fear ranking when we go to crypto. This is Warriors News Fan Report. We run on informed fans who see the game in layers. And remember, we're not passengers in this story. Our prep changes their comfort. Our cuts, our box outs, our early offense, that's where the margins live. Call your shot below, and I'll bring your best ideas onto the board in the next upload. Bottom line, crisp and compact. A potential Lakers-Timberwolves trade built around Austin Reaves would reshape late-game offense in Minnesota and clarify the Lakers' money and minutes around their stars. For the Warriors, the response is to weaponize detail, cleaner defensive rules, smarter matchup hunting, and a ruthless commitment to end every trip with a paint touch or a 3. If you want more of this level, fast film, cap clarity, real basketball talk without fluff, subscribe, hit like, and ring the bell so your feed stays sharp. I'm here after every game and every rumor that matters, because the window is still open if we keep our habits championship grade.